Where should we start, Mr. Chairman?
Well, we start by saying welcome, everyone. This is Churchill Hines, Chair of the Board of the Vermont State Colleges System, calling to order a meeting duly called for 7 p.m. on April 29th, 2020. Trustees and guests are participating in this meeting through Zoom teletechnology. And I would welcome everyone and begin asking Jen Porrier, our assistant to the board, to satisfy that we have enough information for a roll call, or would she like to take that verbally?
Chair Hines, I would be happy to do a roll call right now, if you would like that.
If you would, please.
Absolutely. Okay, remember to please unmute yourself. Janet Bombardier.
Here.
Megan Kluver.
I'm here.
Lynn Dickinson.
Here.
Peg Flory.
Here.
Dylan Giambattista.
Here.
Izzy Gogarty.
Here.
Adam Grinold.
Here.
Bill Lippert.
Here.
Karen Luno. I see you.
Here.
Jim Masland.
Here.
Linda Milne.
Here.
Mike Pichak.
Hi, Jen. I'm here.
David Silverman.
Here.
And Church Hines is here. That's everyone. Chair Hines, thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a meeting where the predominant agenda items are going to be personnel related. And while I absolutely appreciate the public interest in everything that this board does, this board, along with most any other of its type, would conduct personnel matters through the executive session mechanism. We shall do so. However, we will not take any action during executive session, and we'll come out as efficiently as we can and conduct the rest of our meeting in public session. We do anticipate that there will be some action taken by the board when we do come out of executive session. So before entertaining a motion to do that, I would ask if there are any preliminary comments from any member of the family that we have gathered here electronically. Okay. I would also note that when we do reconvene into public session, the board will have some other things to do, and we do anticipate taking a limited amount of time tonight for public comment. Again, as we said at our most recent meeting, the board has had significant public input regarding its work over the past week or 10 days. So tonight we will probably be limiting our public comment time to about 15 minutes. And with that, Trustee Dickinson, I would request that you bring a motion forward to bring us into executive session.
Okay, I move the VSC Board of Trustees enter executive session pursuant to 1 VSA Section 313, subsection A1F, for the purpose of receiving confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services. Because premature general public knowledge of these discussions would place VSC at a substantial disadvantage, it is appropriate for the committee to enter executive session. I further move the board enter executive session pursuant to 1 VSA subsection section 313 subsection A3 to discuss the employment of a public officer. The board shall make a final decision regarding any such public officer in an open meeting and shall explain the reasons for this final decision during the open meeting. The board does not anticipate taking any action during executive session. Along with members of the board present at this meeting, and its discretion, the board invites the chancellor, the council of presidents, the interim provost of Castleton University, along with the VSC General Counsel and VSC Associate General Counsel, to attend portions of this session. So moved.
Thank you, Lynn. Is there a second?
Sure. Jim.
Second by Jim. Any discussion? All those in favor of entering executive session, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? We have the required 2/3 majority and plus, so we will enter into executive session at this time using the usual switch that we have to follow. And I hope at some point Zoom will get smart enough so we don't really have to do this backing out and going back in. But I believe that is our only option. Thank you. Okay, we are back in public session. We had an extensive executive session, as everyone notices, who may have been staying with us. No decisions were made during the executive session. However, we are now at this point ready to take up a motion that relates to our executive session. And I would ask Trustee Dickinson to do so.
Okay, the Vermont State College System Board of Trustees has a resolution 2020-001 for the appointment of Sophie. Okay, Sophie, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's as it looks, it just terrifies people. It's Zadatny.
Zadatny, right,
Zadatny.
Zadatny. As interim chancellor, whereas the Vermont State College System Board of Trustees is responsible under 16 VSA Section 2174 and under Article 3, Section 3 of the Vermont State College System bylaws for the appointment of a chancellor. And whereas outgoing Chancellor Jeb Spaulding has resigned effective today, April 29th, 2020, and whereas the board intends to search for a long-term interim chancellor over the coming weeks, and whereas the outgoing chancellor and the chair of the board recommend that the vacancy created for an interim chancellor be filled in the near term by Vermont State College System General Counsel Sophie Zadatny. Therefore, be it resolved that Sophie Zadatny be appointed as interim chancellor with all the associated authority and responsibility of the office of chancellor from today, April 29th, 2020, until the board appoints a successor. So moved. There's a motion.
Yes, now we transition to the motion that references this resolution.
Okay, I move that the Vermont State Colleges System Board of Trustees accept the chancellor's resignation effective immediately, and further, that the board adopt the resolution as read, appointing Vermont State College System General Counsel Sophie Zadatny as interim chancellor to lead the Vermont State Colleges system until a longer-term interim chancellor can be selected. The board believes Ms. Zadatny is the best person to lead the system at this time. I further move that the VSCS board chair, in consultation with the interim chancellor, support an orderly transition between the outgoing chancellor and the interim chancellor, including waiving the 90-day notice provision of the outgoing chancellor's appointment.
That is a motion. Do we have a second? Seconded by Karen Luno. Is there discussion among the board? Dylan.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to acknowledge a lot of people are tuning in tonight and have been in touch with us as board members individually and collectively. And just going forward, I think it's very important that we stress an openness, a candor, a willingness to take feedback, and a public process that encourages a path forward and doesn't discourage folks in our campus communities. And so I just want to extend that offer. I know that many people on the board are putting in many hours trying to figure out the right path forward, but I feel it's important that we continue to put that at the center of all we do. And certainly I'm committed to doing so. I believe others are, and I'm looking forward to moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Dylan, for that good reminder. David, then Linda.
Before we vote on this, I want to take the opportunity to thank Chancellor Spaulding for his service. I believe Governor Scott had some words that I didn't have a chance to see, but my wife relayed to me that essentially acknowledged that the system was having difficulties when the chancellor arrived. And these events are not his doing, including the COVID pandemic. And there's been a lot of very, very good things that have happened on our campuses that we all have a lot to be proud of. And so I just wanted to say thank you publicly. And also thank you for, it was a pleasure to get to know you, Jeb.
Thank you very much, David. Appreciate it.
I forgot a hand. Linda, I'm sorry. You're on mute, Linda. Linda?
I got it now. I remember. Thanks.
Now we hear you.
You can, thank you. Yes, I wanted to, before we take this vote, thank Jeb for his 5 years of good work, much good work. I think as difficult as this last couple weeks have been, and actually probably longer with the months, the weeks since the COVID, Jeb and his getting us started with the long range planning and other things has us in a lot better place to go forward from than we would have been without those long range planning efforts under his chancellorship. And so I'm glad we had those steps, because I think they have us in a better place to go forward. And I also want to thank Sophie for being willing to step up to the plate at this difficult time. And I like, it sounds like there's some energy she's hearing and feeling. And I'm glad to hear that. And I thank her for being willing to step up to the plate.
Thank you, Linda. Michael.
Thank you, Church. And I also want to reiterate thanks for Jeb and for his service to the Vermont State Colleges and to the state of Vermont as well for many years. And, you know, we have a lot of hard work ahead of us as a system and as a board. We all know Sophie and have known Sophie for a long time on the board and within the campus communities as well. And I'm really looking forward to the energy and the competency, the expertise that Sophie has and that she's going to bring to the table to continue the hard work that's ahead of us. So I feel fortunate that we have Sophie at this time to move forward and get on with our work. It's important. But I do also, of course, say that in the same breath that I do want to thank Jeb for his efforts and his support for the system over the last 5 years.
Thank you, Michael.
Mr. Chairman, when the time is right, either before or after, if the Board of Trustees and other participants would allow, I did have, you know, probably 5 minutes worth of comments to make. I know it's late at night. I can always just print them, I guess, but I think it's important for me to acknowledge some things. And
I think we'd like to join you with that, Jeb, but I'd like to, since we have a motion on the floor, let's go ahead and adopt the motion and we can move directly to your remarks. Further comments and discussion? Then all those in favor of the motion as presented by Trustee Dickinson, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say no. Any not voting, please so indicate. It is unanimous. And Jeb, with heartfelt thanks and acknowledgement for all that you have brought to us. Sometimes there just aren't words that can be said. And Sophie, your eloquence and self-confidence and willingness to tackle this. I think every one of us are very pleased that you're willing to do this, and just light us on fire. And
I'll
I know
try
you
not
can-
to do that literally.
you know, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Jeb, you have the floor.
Well, I guess I'm speaking to you as a former chancellor, and I appreciate just a few minutes. As everybody knows now, I did submit my letter of resignation to you, the Board of Trustees, earlier today. I want to emphasize this was my decision based on the facts as I see them, and that I'm saddened by feeling the obligation to do so. I've truly cherished the opportunity to serve as Chancellor of the Vermont State Colleges system. I am and will remain passionate about our mission. We are a diverse set of institutions, including Community College of Vermont, Vermont Technical College, Castleton University, and Northern Vermont University, all with multiple campuses or sites. And as a group, they have long provided access to high quality and affordable post-secondary education and training in all corners of the state. You are the extension of the public school system into the post-secondary years, proudly serving a wide range of students, all shapes, sizes, and persuasions, from valedictorians to those who have struggled in school and often in life. The family of these colleges and universities value and welcome them all and relish their many successes. And you are a critical pipeline delivering and supporting entrepreneurs and workers to power our state's economy. We are the cultural and economic and community foundation of several rural parts of Vermont. At the same time, we have to acknowledge and not ignore the fact that higher education is in the midst of a major sea change. This is not the time to recite again all the significant forces bearing down on us. They were well documented in the Serving Vermont Students by Securing the Future of the Vermont State Colleges System Initiative and white paper last summer and fall. Related materials in the white paper are still available on the VSC website. But just the fact that in Vermont alone, in the past year, we will have had 4 private, small, rural, tuition-dependent residential colleges close should make it clear to all that the forces are real and can be existential. And that was all before COVID-19. If the VSCS is to continue our mission, it must find the ability to adapt, and soon. The enormous financial challenges facing our Vermont State Colleges system are now more than ever front and center in the public and policymakers' eyes. That at least is a good thing. I believe that collectively we've accomplished a great deal during my chancellorship. So why then am I submitting my resignation? Clearly, the process leading to my recommendations, later withdrawn, has not turned out the way I would have hoped. I take full responsibility and apologize to those that were hurt. I've become more of a liability than an asset to the Vermont State Colleges system. My ability to be an effective chancellor has eroded, and I don't believe that can be repaired quickly, if ever, and the VSCS does not have time to find out. I would no longer be a welcome messenger and leader on our campuses, in the legislature, and elsewhere. That's not a good thing for the Vermont State Colleges system, and it's what is good for the Vermont State Colleges system that is the most important thing. A week ago, Monday, I presented, after considering the options available, presented what I felt to be a challenging but important plan to enable the Vermont State Colleges to withstand the immediate and impending challenges facing our colleges and universities. I made the strongest case I could that my recommendation was the best available option to preserve the entirety of the Vermont State Colleges system, and that decisive action was necessary. Though dramatic, painful, presented under the cloud of the most stressed out period of time in many generations, and raising many legitimate questions and concerns, I believe then and now it was the best available path forward. Time will tell whether I was right or wrong. Either way, it became abundantly clear to me that my recommendations would not be able to move forward. Legislative leaders have indicated they hope to come up with a one-year bridge funding plan that would keep the 3 campuses in question operational for at least the 2021 academic year, while options and decisions about the future design of the Vermont State Colleges system are openly and thoroughly considered and crafted. The campuses do plan to stay open and are going all out to prepare for students who they expect to be arriving and returning in August, finding new ways to adapt, to meet, to serve, and protect them. But without a clear commitment of additional support from the legislature soon, that effort becomes ever more difficult to sustain. The case is made, a clear response ASAP is necessary. I laid out the best plan my team could develop in the situation we found ourselves in. There may be another way, possibly a better way, to position and configure our colleges and university system for sustainability. But a fresh perspective and new leadership will be necessary to find and execute on that. I have to acknowledge many people are disappointed with me and the process leading up to my recommendations, specifically the speed, perceived lack of transparency, and hurtful impacts on many people. Just to mention Elaine Collins and Karen Scolforo as two. Many people were caught off guard. Although I'm confident I've stated clearly and publicly in recent weeks that due to COVID-19, we are experiencing the most serious financial challenges in VSCS history. I telegraphed the changes in our campus configuration to be likely, but I did not detail publicly in advance the specific campus configurations or changes that I would be recommending. There may be a better way to do it, a better process, and I hope there is. But again, it's going to take fresh perspective and leadership, and I support that. The Vermont State Colleges needs to move forward to confront the challenges ahead swiftly and boldly. I cannot predict what the future will bring, but I do know effective and courageous leadership at all levels, and I know it will come from this Board of Trustees, will be necessary to sustain the enterprise in a meaningful form. I am glad that the board has shown confidence in Sophie Zadatny, our current general counsel. She's more than capable of keeping our ship running smoothly and headed in the right direction, while our Board of Trustees identifies a strong longer-term interim in the coming days and weeks. Thank you for being willing to step up, Sophie. You are strong, smart, experienced, and dedicated. And to the members that are participating in this meeting or viewers that are viewing the meeting, if you have any thoughts on who the right person might be to serve as a longer-term interim, please share those with Chairman Hines or other trustees. I'd like to thank my leadership team, the entire office of the Chancellor, our college presidents, and the whole Vermont State Colleges family, including faculty, staff, alumni, the Board of Trustees, and others for their passion and perseverance on behalf of our students, past students, present, and future. The Vermont State Colleges system is way too important to be about any one person. What is important is preserving the mission. For the benefit of Vermont, the Vermont State Colleges system provides affordable, high quality, student-centered, and accessible education, fully integrating professional, liberal, and career study consistent with student aspirations and regional and state needs. I ardently wish the Vermont State Colleges system success in sustaining that mission in whatever form or configuration it takes. Vermont's future depends on it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Virtual applause.
Yeah.
Jeb, your trademark forthrightness is so refreshing when we think of other leaders that we may know who are not so willing to step up and express such sincere candor. I think it's another facet of your caring. Caring can be a liability. You care greatly about the VSC, about the state of Vermont, and I feel this board feels very well cared for and appreciates so much what you've brought to us. I remember in 1985, when you first arrived on the scene in the Senate, and there was a buzz in the State House. I was working for Madeline Cunin at the time about that new tall guy from Washington County. Wasn't he a radio fella? What about him? And how quickly the State House started talking about, where is this guy going to go? He can go only up. What a future he must have. And all I can say, Jeb, it ain't over yet. I wish you very, very well in whatever the next steps happen to be, because they all believed in that tall, lanky guy from Washington County back then, and I still do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, everybody. When I look at our agenda for this evening, we are not going to act this evening on the transition in Castleton. We need a little more time, but we will be taking action on that and working with you, Karen, in that regard. But Karen, I also want to say that it's highly likely that this will be the last time that we may have you at a board meeting. Maybe we'll have one more, but just in case, I want to express my thanks for you. The transition that you began, a lot of people said, how in the world is this ever going to happen? We have a president in Castleton that was almost bigger than Castleton. And we knew it would take a remarkably talented individual to move in and establish a new presidency, a new spirit at Castleton, while honoring the past and still becoming, in short order, the new face of the university. And you pulled that off better than I could ever have imagined. And then you transitioned into tackling the very difficult work of balancing a budget, of doing it in such a way that Castle did not lose its pride and its momentum. And I don't know what we would have done if you hadn't done that as well. And you also bring to us something that I think is rare in a leader, and that is your willingness to show your humanity, and especially your relationship with your family. I don't know how many times I've told people that if you know Karen, you know the family, you know her kids, you can see it in her face. You walk into her office and you see it on the walls. And that speaks so much about your profound fundamental character that we find so attractive. I personally wish you very, very well. And thank you. Karen?
Yeah, so I guess with that, I should probably share my decision, because I've not shared it yet with anyone. So because you've sort of shared it here, so I appreciate the things you just said, Chair Hines, and I just wanted to say that it's certainly been an honor to serve as president of Castleton University, and it's definitely with a heavy heart that I share my decision that my last day will be May 31st. And I think what's most important right now is that we remain focused on our students, which is why we're all here. And they must remain the focus of our work every single day, and we cannot lose sight of it for even a moment. And I know that as Castleton moves into the future and offers expertise and sound judgment in terms of reconfiguration and innovation to help the system move forward, one thing is for certain, and that is that Castleton will succeed. I inherited a great team with exceptional skills and insightful perspectives, and it has truly been an honor to work with them. Our faculty inspired me to be a better leader. They held me accountable while holding themselves to the highest standards on behalf of our students. Our staff has provided guidance and support to our students. This has been the most dedicated team of professionals I've ever worked with. And it's been an honor. I have full confidence that our team will continue to move the university forward and to ensure that our Spartans enjoy the legacy for decades to come, because this is the Castleton way. I'm so grateful for your faith in me, the faculty, the staff, students, alumni, community, all the people that came out when I initially interviewed, and to the Board of Trustees who unanimously appointed me. In a span of just 3 academic years, we have strengthened our financial position, developed new programs, formed new partnerships, opened 2 new locations, launched a fundraising campaign, and welcomed a record-breaking class to campus this past fall. We have truly positioned Castleton for a bright future, and I'm grateful to have been a part of it. I, like Jeb, will remain passionate about the mission of the Vermont State Colleges, and I will always have a special place in my heart for our Spartans. Go Spartans!
Thank you so much.
As a former chancellor, I just want to thank you very much, Karen. And I'm sorry the way things turned out. You've been a wonderful president, and you can see the passion that you have.
Thank you, Jeb.
Trustees, there are 2 more items on the agenda. One is other business, and I'm going to, and also comments from the public. I'm going to ask Yasmin if she is manning the magic machine that tells us whether there are in fact people who would like to speak with us.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman. We can post a sign-up opportunity for those who are attending. We haven't done that yet, so that would be whenever you're ready to do that.
You can go ahead and do that while we're taking care of just one more question I have for the board. As we were speaking earlier about proceeding with a search for a new longer-term leader, I'd like to get some sense of the board whether they would like to have us act this evening to essentially commission that search, or whether they would prefer that we do that at a later time. We do have a resolution ready tonight if we wanted to at least officially start that process, and then the details we will, I'm going to propose that we have an initial meeting next week to start framing some options for a search and to collect ideas about that. The only question I have before you is whether you'd like to formally commission that search now or wait until a later time. And I can't see everybody, but let me just, no, I can't see everybody. Could I have any response to whether you'd like to commission the search tonight or later?
This is Janet. I would prefer later because I think we need a good conversation about the job itself, the skills we're looking for. Maybe commissioning it doesn't get in the way of that conversation, but it certainly can't begin until we do that.
No, to be clear, that would be that to commission it means we can begin that conversation. It would legitimize the conversation. I could not agree with you more.
Church, I would support starting it in some fashion. I think it's clear that the board is eager to understand what that would look like, but I think the sooner we start, the better.
Then again, I have a hard time seeing everybody. I'm looking for the little arrows. Perhaps the most expeditious thing is to ask Lynn to read the motion, and we can either support it or not. And there's no harm in not at this point in time. But I do feel that to give the search process some legitimacy, we ought to express the opinion of the board that we need to do this. So Lynn, would you go ahead and read a motion that would position us to begin the process that Janet described of framing priorities, framing having those very important initial discussions that would get this going.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move that the Vermont State College System Board authorize the Vermont State College System Board Chair, in consultation with the interim chancellor, trustees, and others, to establish and carry out a process for identifying and interviewing a candidate or candidates for a long-term interim chancellor.
Is there a second for that rather broadly written motion?
I second.
Karen seconds. I'd welcome discussion. Izzy.
I just want to point out before I vote, would this include having a conversation about what the chancellor's position would look like in the future if there would be one? I think that's important to note before I vote. If the option is that we reconfigure the chancellor's office, is that also involved in those discussions?
I think that very discussion that you and Janet have both described would be very fundamental first discussions.
Church.
Yes, wherever you are.
Yeah, here I am.
Oh, I'm
Anyway.
sorry. Lynn.
As I read the motion, I would like to make an amendment to it. And the amendment would read that the Vermont State College System Board authorized the VSCS Board Chair in consultation with the interim chancellor and with the Board of Trustees. Well, in consultation, it does say it, in consultation with the interim chancellor, trustees, and others. I guess it says it already. Forget it.
Yeah, the full intent was, and if you prefer to insert board of, that's fine with me, if it's okay with your seconder. To make it even clearer. Karen, shall we go ahead and do that?
Yes.
Okay. Further discussion? Dylan?
Yeah, and just to confirm, our intent here would be in starting this process to have opportunities for public input, I would hope, and a broader community discussion with campuses, with some of the stakeholders. Is that right? I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
I think that it goes without saying that this position, traditionally in the past, I hope, is an inclusive, open process. That would, to the extent that I can influence it, that's what it would be.
Thank you.
Other thoughts or questions? Then why don't we go ahead and see where the board is on this resolution? Michael, were you raising your hand? Okay. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of adopting the resolution as read and further amended by its maker and agreed to by its seconder, please say aye.
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 And are those opposed? Any not voting? We have commissioned the beginning of the discussion that would likely lead to a search. While Yasmin is checking to see if we have anyone who wishes to speak with us, who's signed up or however it's done, is there any other business to come before the board? Any other thoughts or discussion from the board? Okay, Yasmin.
Yes, so we have right now 4 speakers signed up. The first one is Aaron Brown.
Okay.
And I think my understanding is we're trying to allow for 1 minute of comment. So Aaron, you'll be unmuted. Next up after that will be Cynthia Moulton.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, this is Erin with Channel 3. So we just have 3 questions we wanted to ask. The first one is it realistic for students to expect these 3 campuses to be fully open and operational by the fall?
The board and the leadership of the state colleges are absolutely committed to make that happen if it is at all possible.
Okay, has there been any talks of reopening the campuses at this point?
I guess I have to think whether you're asking a COVID-19 question or not? That
Yeah, COVID-19, any either, related to COVID or the financial challenges.
Whatever, we are committed to be open for business in August, if that is at all possible. And obviously, everything we do has an asterisk on it, subject to whatever requirements that we have to follow concerning the novel coronavirus.
Okay, so it sounds like nothing is.
Yeah, it is our hope that we will have students on campus, but it would be unrealistic to say we can answer that right now.
Okay, got it. And how does the board plan to fund the 3 campuses, and where do you guys plan on getting the money to keep those campuses open?
The Vermont State Colleges has its own resources, but as a public institution, we also rely heavily on public support. We are working collaboratively and closely with the executive and legislative branches to secure the support that we require.
Got it. Okay. And then we wanted to ask about UVM has announced that they said that they're planning to reopen by the fall. We just wanted to ask what your opinion is on that.
Well, I believe the university has indicated also CDC willing, and I think we would be in a similar situation as well. I think we would want to be as open to students as the public health officials allow.
Got it. All right, that's it from us. Thank you so much.
I guess I'd also pause since we have a little bit of time and invite any of our presidents who are online with us here to add to any of the responses I provided. Okay, Yasmin?
Yes, so the next speaker is Beth Foy, followed by Rebecca Fleeter.
Thank you. Welcome, Beth.
Beth Foy. So Beth Foy is unmuted. Beth. So I think we should probably go on to Rebecca Fleeter.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, Rebecca, thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Rebecca Fleeter. I'm a student at Northern Vermont University, Johnson. I'm a junior. And I'm just wondering how exactly the board plans to take student, faculty, staff, and alumni responses to appointing a chancellor. If this is truly a community, then how does the board plan to get everybody involved in making that decision to find an interim chancellor?
Well, I think if you were listening to our earlier comments, we recognize that we have to start with some framing and planning of the process and and the way it's going to proceed. I would think that would be a very early topic of discussion. I think I would be very surprised if kind of the framers of the search process aren't very open to what you described.
Okay, thank you.
Great, and the next speaker is Lola Duffert, followed by Dr. Andrea McManus.
Roland?
Lola.
I'm sorry. Oh, Lola.
Lola, yes.
My ears are tired, Lola.
That's okay. Sorry about that. I was hoping that I could, you guys might speak a little bit about what you guys are thinking in terms of filling Karen Scolforo's post when she leaves May 31st. And I was also wondering if she would be willing to speak a little bit more about her decision to leave. I'm assuming that it has something to do with what 7 Days reported today.
Lola, I don't think there's been any material discussion at all about how to proceed yet. So I honestly don't know that we have an answer to your first question. It's everything is brand new and there's been no discussion.
Okay. Oh, when were you told about President Scolforo's decision to step
I
down?
let President Scolforo speak for herself.
Okay.
Hi, Lola. How are you?
Hey, Karen.
I was planning to announce my decision in the morning to my team first. So I think that so I didn't actually do a formal announcement until that all just happened. So there it is.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of announcements are happening like that right now.
Well, I do think things are just happening quickly and in general, and you know, we're all dealing with unprecedented times, and you know, the uncertainty that we're all facing, and everybody's just trying to do the best they can, I guess.
Do you want to speak a little bit more about, you know, why you've decided to take this decision?
Sure. You know, I think I would just say that the circumstances that have occurred over the past couple of weeks have put me in a position where I feel that I can't lead at the same level. You know, I fear that you know, that folks. I don't want folks to be distracted by trying to understand some of the decisions that have been made, because we don't have time for the distractions. And I have every faith in this team, and I'm really disappointed because I had made a commitment to stay at Castleton for a long time. You know, I think I've shared with people that going through the challenges with COVID-19, my little mantra has been, it's forcing us to stand still and appreciate what we have. And there's just so much that I have to appreciate about being at Castleton University on this magical campus. And so I'm deeply disappointed to share my decision.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lola.
Our next speaker is Dr. Andrea Silva McManus, followed by Beth Foy. And Beth is the final speaker who signed up, Mr. Chairman.
Very good, thank you.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I just want to thank you for your continued good work, and to let you know that Yasmin and I have a phone call scheduled for tomorrow at 11, where I'm going to talk with her about what I might be able to do to provide some assistance. Karen, I'm very sad to hear that you're going to go, and I appreciate your warm words about Castleton and the kind of family and magical place that it is, because it really is. And Sophie, I want to welcome you. I don't see Jeb on anymore, but I'm going to write him a letter and send it to him, but I'll help in any way I can. And I just wanted to thank you all again. And with that, I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you. And final speaker is Beth Foy.
Welcome.
Beth? She was able to sign back up again, but maybe her mic is not working. Beth, you are unmuted. Apologies to Beth if she's not able to. We do have her unmuted, but
Well, if she is able to hear us, we would obviously welcome whatever questions or comments she might want to pass on to us. I think it's probably best that she would send those to the office of the chancellor, and we can get back to you and fill in any missing information that you might need, or be happy to hear any thoughts or opinions that you would have shared with us this evening.
Church, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, yay.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry, I don't know what was wrong. Karen, first thing I just want to say real quick is, Karen, you were throwing some curveballs clearly, and you've handled them extremely eloquently. Well done. I have no doubt you'll succeed wildly in life. The other question that I have for the board, and also for Sophie in her new role, congratulations, Sophie, is there's a whole lot of instability, additional instability over the past few weeks that will definitely impact our campuses beyond the instability that COVID caused, and beyond the financial statuses of the schools. So my question to Sophie and to the board is, what are you going to do right now to try to both keep and obtain new students, and get a message out that we want to support the schools, and we're committed to supporting the schools and are working toward these programs and supporting these programs, because that confidence, public confidence is not there right now. And it is desperately needed. Thank you.
Beth, I would say that from a lot of this is going to depend on where we sit. I know that each of our college presidents are steadfast in presenting a positive, constructive outlook to everyone who asks about the status of their individual college, their plans, and commitment to reduce any sense of instability and uncertainty as best we can. From where I sit, I am committed to work as closely as possible with the Vermont General Assembly and the Executive Office in Vermont to be sure that we can fill in one of the most important missing pieces right now in bringing back stability and positivity, and that would be a vote of confidence from our public partners and the resources that we need to truly fulfill the promise that we think have in us. I invite Sophie to respond as well.
Yeah, I would just add that I know the colleges are working hard. They're reaching out to the current students they have. They're reaching out to the students that are interested in coming and that are hoping to come in the fall. I think enrollment and retention is probably, top of their list in terms of looking ahead for the fall and what we can expect. And it's obviously vitally important that people have confidence that the colleges will be around and will be successful and sustainable. And the more we can do to get that message out, again, as Church says, if we can get the support of the legislature in making that happen, I think that's what we need to do to encourage students to come and to enjoy the colleges and get an excellent education when they're there.
Thank you, Sophie. I mean, the Vermont State Colleges are really the jewel of economic and human development in Vermont. I mean, I can think of no resource available to the state that has more potential to improve the lives of individuals, their families, the communities in which they live. We are, in fact, a giant human development machine and economic engine. And we have a tremendous amount to offer Vermont. We just need to work very hard to get back on a consistent, solid track and demonstrate that we are ready to fulfill that promise. Are there other thoughts or business before the board? I know it's late. Hearing none, Michael.
Church, I just wanted to end by saying I know there's a lot of hard work ahead of us, as we heard from the comments and people in the community know. I know the board, it's late and we're tired, but I know the board is energized. I know Sophie is going to do a great job. The presidents are going to do a great job, and we're going to work our hardest on this. So, you know, it's late and we're tired, but don't mistake that for us not being energized and ready to take on this challenge.
I'm buying new running shoes so I can keep up with Sophie. Okay. May we entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned. Stay tuned. There will be more. This is going to continue to be one of Vermont's busiest boards. Thank you very much, one and all.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good night, all.
Good night. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you, Jeb.
Thank you.
Yeah, I figured I should not be part of that anymore, huh? I didn't really know.
Jeb, just end church, just a note that we haven't quite ended, so.
Okay, that's all right. I wasn't gonna say anything bad. It's just that I did, it was hard to know. I'm not the chancellor, and Sophie